Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to yet another video about nothing from the thrift store prepper. That's right, it's another video about nothing, brought to you by Shit Video Productions. And today's video was going to be so much different than the video that I'm actually making, and reason being it's another extremely bitterly cold day here in Toronto. It's about -15 with wind chill on top of that. It's feeling more like -20, and it really is absolutely miserable. And my intentions, this is actually my only day off this week, and I go back tomorrow, and then I have 8 days straight before I have another day off. So I kind of really wanted to make the most of my day and relax as much as possible before I'm back in the thick of things tomorrow. But I was hoping that maybe I could quickly run to the No Frills and do a little cheeky Sensi 20 top up and maybe grab a few items for my intended thrift store prepper recipes, which I've had in the back of my head for a while now, and they've been on the back burner waiting to be brought into the limelight and shown off. But you're going to have to wait a little bit longer on those, but I can assure you and promise you that they will be coming very soon. So that was my plan. As I said, I didn't really go out. It was too cold. I stuck my head outside briefly and was, fuck that shit, yo. It's not nice to be out. It's kind of like the Hoth battle scene in The Empire Strikes Back, where there's just snow everywhere, and you know, no one has a tauntaun spare for me to get further than the first marker. So what I'm going to do, we've had some further upgrades to the prepping pantry that I've been putting together, and another thing you're going to see here is, just show you there, I have a new spotlight. And by new spotlight, it's a spotlight I found in the back of the basement, which is behind where I'm living. There's another part that you don't see, and it was in the back there in the shelf, so I'm utilizing that. I plugged it in, it's giving me a nice light source to the thrift store prepper studio. And what you can also see here is we've got a ramen noodle that I've attached somehow to the wall, and this is going to kind of become the official mascot, I guess, of the thrift store prepper. And this particular pack was one of the first items that I had. In fact, it was the only item I had for the longest time before I started the thrift store prepper. The only thing I had for emergencies was 2 12 packs of ramen noodles, 1 beef and 1 chicken, and this happens to be the last remaining ramen from the first I guess, what am I trying to say, but that was the first thing that I had, or the only thing I had, and that is what we have built our prepping pantry on from then. So this was the ramen noodle that started it all, so it's a little bit sentimental when we're going to put it there, and let's hope the day never comes when all that we have left in the world to eat is our lucky ramen. So that's there. As I said, there's not really much else that I can show you of any new quality or new content rather. Goodness gracious, I can't talk. The cold's got into my brain and it's freezing me a little bit, and it is my day off, so I have been medicating quite heavily. So what I am going to show you is, you know, we did a little bit of a rearrange to the pantry the other day, and we actually managed to break the 10 view mark. So I think we're about 14 or 15 views on that one, and we even did have some comments, and that's something I was going to address actually. Now I've remembered it, is, you know, thank you for those of you that do comment. In particular, I want to give a mention to Gibson Girl, who always gives me some moral support and a huge confidence boost with some of her kind comments on my videos. And we have shared some ideas together, and don't worry, I do take some of the things that you do say on board, and they are in the back of my mind, and we will be working on some of those things, and maybe trying to build a little bit of a bigger thrift store prepper community as time goes by. And you know, it's been, I think, around 3 months, give or take a week or two. I really have kind of lost track. Certainly with the winter months, it's almost semi-hibernation. One day seems pretty much like the next. And as I explained in the last video I think I uploaded, that it's been a busy couple of weeks, and I've also been a little bit sick and under the weather due to the frigid cold outside. It finally got into me and gave me the sniffles for a couple of days. So I've not really had the chances and had maybe not the enthusiasm as I did in the early days of this project, and certainly was making videos possibly for the sake of videos, and maybe some of the items that I was buying was for the sake of items, and that's something I think we're going to address a little bit now. But what I'm going to do, as we are using our little power bank, I'm a lot more portable than when I was plugged into the wall, and I'm still using the same old phone, but it's got a bit of a temperamental battery, so it can give or take in any given moment and clunk out. So what we've done here, as you can recall, on top we had the basket before where I had some items, and it was although it was tied in together, it still kind of looked a little bit messy and was a little bit out in the open, and should I need to get myself up and out of here and bounce to somewhere different, then I'd need to find some way of putting that. Oh, not that it'd be hard, you know, I got lots of bags and things, but still it would take the effort to package it up. So what I've pretty much done is I've utilized all my tubs now. The other thing I did, if you remember, we had the bag of ramen, the huge mylar of ramen, so I've utilized my second large tub, put the mylar straight in there, sealed it up. We did get some more ramen noodles in the recent Sensi 20 top up. So what I did is I took 6 of the ramen noodle that I had there, crushed them up, repackaged them in the trail mix like we did before. So I think I got about 40 ramen going on in that tub, maybe 45, I don't know, we'll get it out one day and count them, but we have 45 ramen or so in here. And in the bottom, I'm sure you remember, we got our rice, our oats, and our pasta and other dried products that we don't need now, or don't say we don't need, but we're not going to be using anytime soon. And partly the reason I've separated these is because they're items that are going to require a lot of cooking, and they are going to need water, and you are going to need, you know, pots and pans and stuff to cook it. So although it is great items to have, from my personal views and personal needs, I would rather not be going for such things, because, as I say, you need twice as much water to cook rice and pasta as you do to open a can. So this is looking very stocked up now. I'm not going to open the drawers because we did that the other day. You know what's in the bottom one. There's just a little look inside. So what we're going to look at here is, let me crouch down, and it's kind of like being on location. So what else I forgot to mention in the Sensi 20 top-up is items that have bang for a buck. And what I mean by bang for buck, let's take these beans for example. Now these come in, I think, at $1.08, maybe $1.17, I can't remember, but they're not too much. I don't know if you can see those ingredients there. But in this column here, you want to be seeing numbers and not zeros. And this one pretty much has got numbers where we need numbers and zeros where we don't want to see zeros. So pretty much fat free. Certainly not that much fat in there, but you're going to be getting your carbs, you're going to be getting your fiber, you're going to get sugar, you're going to get protein, and you're going to be getting calcium, and you're going to get iron. So that's giving you a hell of a lot of your daily requirements from just half a can of this. Which is a 250 ml serving. And the other great thing about this is in liquid. So you know what, I'm not going to give too many secrets away just yet, but you can use this liquid to rehydrate your ramen. That's all I'm going to say for now, and you will find out more in the recipes. And another super item, and certainly something I'm going to be looking to put more of in this pantry, is potatoes. Potatoes are a superfood, and again, talking about bang for buck and looking at your nutritional value, the zeros are in the right places, and you've got all your numbers where they count. And again, this is going to give you a hell of a lot of your nutrients in requirements for just a single cup, 140 gram portion. So for 140 grams, 240, there's just over 5 servings in there. So there you go. That's what I'm talking about when I mean bang for your buck. And these, again, they're about $1 or $1.20, not much more than that. So a little bit like your Boyardee, we've got your bang for your buck. We've got a lot of numbers there and not so many zeros. And maybe I will give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's come down to the bottom here, and I think at the very back I am a little bit organized. See, I said we weren't going to go in this one, but look, we have. So let's go and see what we've got on the carrots, if I can get that out without causing too much destruction. There are numbers, but there are a lot of zeros. You know, you're not really getting much. The only good thing you are getting in the carrots is 100% vitamin A, which is kind of why I'm in there. And these are kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily eat on their own. They're stuff that you combine with other things. But there's not much going on in there in terms of, you know, comparison to your beans and your potatoes. So there you go. Oh my word, we've got a little bit of destruction going on, but I think I can salvage this without having to put the camera down or to pause things. There you go. And you can see how kind of convenient and compact this is, and how really and truly there's not much to be moving if I did have to move out, or if, you know, maybe I was just moving into another apartment or house of my own. I haven't got to dismantle much. I can just pretty much pick this up, put it in the moval van, and I'm gone. So these are some good improvements, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm trying not to be that YouTube channel or that YouTuber, but I think, you know, sometimes a little bit of encouragement doesn't go astray. And, you know, we have been getting some comments, and not just on the YouTube channel. We get a good little bit of feedback occasionally in the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group, check it out. I'm probably going to put a link in the description below, because that's something else that I noticed YouTubers seem to say. So it's just to continue a little bit about the pantry, and some pros and cons about things that I pick in, you know, things that I've learned along the way, that when I kind of started this, again, some of the items I bought were for demonstration purposes, and some, you know, were intended to be for long-term prepping pantry survival items, and things, you know, like the rice, the pasta, the dried beans, and pretty much all the dried goods I bought, with the exception of the skim milk and the oatmeal. The minute oats, they are things that, you know, you just really need to hydrate. You don't need to cook. And the powdered milk, obviously, you can just sprinkle that in with your oatmeal, or with anything else you wanted, just to add a little bit of protein and calcium and vitamins. Excuse me one second. There you go. As I said, I have been medicating a little bit heavily today, and getting over a cough and cold. So I'm still not back to fully charged, but I kind of lost my chain of direction then, and train of thought of what I was saying. Let me try and recap. So we're talking about getting things, you know, like your potatoes and your beans, which have a lot of protein and nutrients in them, and looking at things like the ramen noodles, which take very, very little liquid to rehydrate. And again, with canned items, lots of these things come with water in the can. So whereas rice and pasta require water, canned items will also give you a water source. And I guess, you know, you could drink it, or you can use it for cooking purposes, or even cleaning purposes if you needed to. But, you know, that's a pro over dried products for sure, because, you know, water may be an issue in a survival situation. If you're just making, you know, you're a homemaker and you're not really planning on being off grid, or any doomsday situation occurring, and you're just stacking up a pantry for, you know, the sense of it, then by all means, rice, pasta, dry products, you're going to get a lot of items for your buck. But again, you know, something like rice doesn't actually contain that much nutrients. It's just a carb. It's not a complete protein. And even with rice and beans, I believe it's still not a complete protein. But I'm no nutritionist. Don't take my word for that. Look it up for yourself. You're probably watching this on a device that will find the answers out for you within seconds, if you're really that curious to find out. But that's what I'm talking about, that if you are going to be, you know, putting together a survival pantry, if you are starting from scratch, my recommendation would be stay away from things like pasta, rice, dried beans, and anything like that, you know, dried lentils, chickpeas, and go for canned items because they're cooked, they come in liquid, and you just need to open the can and go. Other things you have to consider with long-term storage for rice is most prepping channels on YouTube who will advise you to go out and buy 20-pound bags of rice, and then not only have you got to buy the rice, you've got to buy the mylar bags to store the rice, and you've got to buy the silica gel sachet things to put into the rice to make sure moisture doesn't get in, and then you have to buy yourself a tub unless you're lucky enough to find them for free to seal them in. So it's all added cost on top of the rice, and then once your emergency situation should ever come to be, then you're in the situation where, okay, I need pots, pans, a heat source to be able to boil water and cook this on, as well as the water itself, and other things, you know, like kind of like spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. Although these are good items and, you know, they seem like good items, they don't really have that much nutritional value. It's a lot of flavor, you may get some vitamins or something, but you're not really gonna be getting nutrients. You may be getting fill up and you may be getting calories, but that's why I tend to look at things like the beans, tend to look at things like potatoes, and, you know, the ramen is very, very cheap. It's a good carb and it's a good filler. It's something, you know, you can just crush one up and pour it into a can of beans and it will hydrate in the bean juice. You know, this is how versatile it is, and, you know, for $10 you can get 50 ramen noodles that require no cooking. If you really had to, you can eat them as dry, as straight out of the packet. Just sprinkle a little bit of the flavor on, and it's kind of like a substitute for potato chips. But ramens are good, canned products are good, dried products, not saying they're bad, but avoid them because, as I say, if it is for an emergency situation, then there's nothing more easier than just using a can opener and digging in with your spoon, as opposed to having to try and start a fire, boil water, and then depending on what conditions you're in, if you're inside or outside, you know, there might be rain and wind that are affecting the fire, or you might be in the snow situation, who knows what it is. So cans for me are going to win all day, every day over dried items. And again, you know, they do have a pretty long shelf life, and you can keep a good eye on what you're buying when you're buying it. Try and pick the items that have, you know, obviously the longest expiry, and then you really can put it into a little compartment or container or whatever it is that you're using as your storage unit, and forget about it. And it's something I've kind of going to try and steer away from a little bit, that, you know, things like the trail mix and things like, you know, granola bars, they don't last long. I do tend to snack on them, and if they're there, I will snack on them, and it's kind of hard to resist. So another little tip might be, although you want to be buying things that you will eat and that you do like, maybe stay away from things that you can't stay away from, if that makes sense. Like I say, it's very, very easy and tempting to just delve into a bar of chocolate and then delve into another one and decide, you know what, I need something salty to balance out the 2 bars of chocolate that I've just eaten, and you polish off 2 bags of your emergency trail mix. So although nuts and berries are very, very good items to have, unless you can resist them, certainly I'm going to maybe not go so heavy on them. I'm not going to say I'm going to eradicate them completely, because, you know, I do tend to snack on them throughout the week, so it's not like I'm never going to go not buy them again. But in terms of prepping, you know, for 5 bags of trail mix, I could get myself 10 cans of potatoes, or 10 cans of beans, or 10 cans of boyardee. And again, as great as the trail mix is, I'd rather have the 10 cans of boyardee in an emergency. So part of, you know, this has all been a learning experience, not just for anyone who's watching and is actually learning anything from this. I really doubt anyone is, and probably I'm just a source of amusement to more experienced in long-time preppers. But, you know, I keep saying I'm making this shit up as I go along, and I really am. And again, this is a video kind of about nothing. It's possibly recycled content, but I'm trying to reach out and try and build a community and try and get myself a little bit more confidence in making these videos. This has been kind of a little bit of a different one, because I haven't really made anything or unbagged anything, and just kind of really showed you how I've been tinkering around the last couple of days. And I guess, you know, maybe this is the end of the chapter, the beginning chapter, and the next chapter is being a little bit more sensible with purchasing, maybe less demonstration items and more actual prepping items would certainly see my money going a long way. But as I said, you know, this is a little bit of fun. We're not taking things too seriously, and you know, we're hoping that maybe this doesn't necessarily appeal to people who are experienced preppers, but maybe people who are homemakers who have not maybe considered some of the options I present, and maybe especially to people like students and young people who are maybe living in other cities to go to school, or maybe have gone to another city for a job and they're living in, you know, like myself, rented accommodation. They just got a room or maybe a small studio or, you know, basement like myself that they live in, and don't really have much of a kitchen or don't have much storage space, and they need to live and still put food in their belly. Then, you know, these are some good tips and ways that you could certainly stop yourself from going hungry and keep the wolf from the door, and still have some money for your Tinder dates if you are a young person. I think that's what they do now, go on Tinder dates. I wouldn't know such things. But yeah, you know, this is also probably if, you know, you're a camper or you have an RV, or I mentioned before, people who are van dwellers and, you know, just live in the van, and that's quite exciting, the open road and just being able to go wherever you want as long as you've got some gasoline. You know, my Pantry would be a perfect little thing to chuck in the back of your van and really wouldn't take up much space. And at the minute, you know, I did a little bit of a count earlier. I've got over 60 odd cans of various food items. I've got all the 3 kilos of instant oats. I've got 2 kilograms of rice. So all in all, there's a pretty decent amount of food to be lasting for quite some time if I didn't have to do anything. And maybe a project might be, I'm not going to buy food and see how long I could live off of this. But as I do live in a live in a restaurant, it feels like it is. Sometimes I do work in a restaurant. I actually live at home, but sometimes more hours there than I am here. It doesn't feel as though I'm ever away, but you know, I do get to eat very, very well at work, and that's why sometimes the snacks and the zum-zums and wham-whams are so very tempting when I've come home, because it's stuff I don't see at work. I get tired of seeing steaks and chicken wings and ribs and pastas and fish and chips and burgers, and that's what I live off most of the week. So, you know, when I do eat cold meals, this again is out to Gibson Girl, it's kind of a little treat for me. As I said, I cook all week, and last thing you really want to be doing on your day off is busman's holiday, as they call it, cooking for myself. And it's kind of the reason I gave up my intended career in gynecology. So you know, this is it. I kind of lost my way of thought and went off on a tangent then, as I tend to do. But we're going to be looking at, you know, the next wave of the thrift store prepper, and certainly got some ideas. And I'm not going to say exciting stuff coming, because it really isn't exciting. It's not exactly high octane or stimulating, should I say. But if you're looking to have something to fall asleep for while you're watching, then this might be the perfect tonic for you, especially if you're suffering from insomnia. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say thank you all for putting up with this video about nothing and listening to me rambling. Not only that, thanks for watching and supporting me so far. You know, I really do appreciate all the comments and kind of feedback I do get from everybody. And who knows, maybe one day we'll make a video that 100 people will see. So, on that note, It's a shit video production for the Thrift Store Prepper. See you next time, and if we don't, that's cool.